Good morning, Saturday moaners. Welcome. I need to ask you before I get going, is the fan that is fanning my feet annoying the sound? Just need to check that, because if it is, I'll turn it off. How are we all? Good morning. It's Saturday. It's getting hot. It's getting hot in here. So take off all your clothes. I can't take the hot. I don't know what the words are. Has anyone else seen the clips of Will Smith singing in the middle of the street and no one's really singing? And his song's called Pretty Girls. And then I think Rita Ora appears from the crowd. Sort of, it's all very orcs. It's all very orcs. Sometimes I just want to get up and do some breakdancing. If you're wondering what these damp patches are, they are the tears of my wife. And that's the postman. Rings twice. Let me just pop out. Is there someone at the door? Oh, no. I thought it was someone at the door. Morning, team. So stick with the channel at 11 o'clock today. Well, probably a little bit later than 11 o'clock today. You're going to have the Curly Cooks of Croydon. So the papers, I'm afraid we're going to be talking about Donald Trump as he approaches near emperor status. We're going to be talking about an awful report in Haaretz, which has hit which is an Israeli publication, with whistleblowers in the IDF admitting that they have been ordered to shoot aid seekers. And we're going to be looking at how the other, not the other half, but the other 0.5%, if that, of the world get married in Venice. So without further ado, let's move into the headlines. So first up, this is why critics believe, oh, that's not it. What's happened here? Why critics believe Trump's big win in the Supreme Court is terrifying step towards authoritarianism. Now, this is a potentially, it's not complicated. Basically, the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in America, has voted by 6-3, basically in simplest layman's terms, to make life as simple as possible for Donald Trump to pass get lots of his executive orders passed, things like birthright citizenship, expelling illegal documented people, all this kind of stuff. You know, at the moment, most states, and most of them are usually the states that are Democrats, are anti-Trump, judges can throw up objections and they can appeal these things. And this finding in the Supreme Court essentially makes things potentially a lot easier for Donald Trump. But I'm going to give you the big man as he explains what's going on.
Has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities.
So basically, I saw someone mentioned online that what he's done is equivalent in storytelling terms to episode 1 of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. The overreach of his imperial desires has happened. So basically, you know, the awful footage that you've seen, Nadia was watching some footage earlier today, I think, of an Iranian woman in America being absconded by ICE. Basically, it's just going to be able to do more of what you've seen him trying to do with less kind of opposition. Mark, do you think the majority of people who voted Trump in are regretting it? Surely, Anne-Marie. I think, no, I think those, I can't remember where I heard it. We listened to so much, but someone was saying the other day that a lot of Trump supporters, there's a part of the Trump support base which basically supports Trump. So anything Trump does, they'll support. Do you know what I mean? It's a sort of almost cultish. And so if he was to throw on tariffs or remove tariffs, they just go with the flow. They go with his contradictory kind of ways. I think there's a lot of people in the middle, and I'm sure there must be a sizable chunk of Latino, African American, and any other kind of ethnic minority in America that voted for him, that's beginning to question the sanity of doing that. So I think he's never going to lose his core base. And I just think some of the issues we're facing now, what are we? We're half a year into his first year, aren't we? Yes, 6 months in virtually to his presidency. And we've seen so much happen. I mean, only this time last week, were we still in the midst of the Iran-Israel war, or as he calls it, I had a chat with some people and they said, let's call it the 12-day war. It was 12 days. It was 12 days. I mean, things are moving with such speed. I mean, right down to only a couple of hours ago, this has been uploaded online regarding Israel and Gaza, which we're going to talk about in more focused detail. Listen to this.
Some of the people involved. It's a terrible situation that's going Gaza. He's asking about, and we think within the next week we're going to get a ceasefire. And we're supplying, as you know, a lot of money and a lot of food to that area because we have to. I mean,
we're supplying food and aid because we have to. I don't think many of the Gazans would describe it as getting food and aid. I'm going to show you some footage in a minute of, well, in fact, I'll show you now. He says, because we have to. Here's some really quite troubling footage of children, people scavenging through the remnants of flour sacks. Now, that spectacle, which I'm going to show you again, is not footage that we should be tolerating. The weird thing about that, and the reason I go to these outlets sometimes to show that footage, is so that people don't just go, yeah, that's just some kind of... That's the Daily Telegraph uploaded that clip. That's footage. That's the footage that Donald Trump's referring to of giving them aid that we have to, that then IDF troops shoot people as they're getting it. I mean, you know, so just rest your horses. When he talks about a ceasefire coming, what one has to bear in mind is, because they're not stupid, all these, you know, Netanyahu, he's now striving for survival. He's had to stop a war, which we know he doesn't like to do. He's still bombing Lebanon. He's still encroaching on Syria. Huge swathes of his population have bought up enormous amounts of property in Cyprus. And Gaza is flattened, is completely flattened. So so they're now going to what you're going to see happening in the mainstream press is the suggestion of a rational and reasonable ceasefire. You're suddenly going to have that moment that the narcissistic psychopath in the middle of a row suddenly realizes that they're going to gain more to feed their narcissism by pausing the fight just for a moment and playing the role or acting the role of peacemaker, ceasefire, securer, and all that kind of bollocks. So you can say ceasefire, but what kind of a ceasefire are you looking at? The only ceasefire suggestion that I've seen floated around at the minute is one in which over 1 million Gazans are forcibly removed from Gaza to other countries, which, regardless of whether that's a kind of humanitarian necessity, because Israel has destroyed Gaza, that is the definition of ethnic cleansing. That is the definition of ethnic cleansing. It is an international crime. It is a humanitarian crime. Okay. And also, let's not forget, when people want to kind of get a bit kind of antsy in their pantsy about whether one's being critical of Israel, as we stand, we are a country that subscribes to and is a member of the International Criminal Court. And there is an arrest warrant out for Benjamin Netanyahu. He is a wanted war criminal. We seem to keep forgetting that. It's a detail that many lobbying groups in this country seek to obfuscate and just push to the margins. But whether they like it, or whether we like it, or whether Netanyahu likes it, he is a wanted war criminal. So, you know, in this, so as you hear the word ceasefire, don't just go, because I mean, a lot of us are going to go, oh, that's so great. Yeah, ceasefire. Oh, brilliant. It's all sorted. Look at the detail. Look at the detail, because there's going to be a huge attempt by the mainstream media to say, but this is what you wanted. Get on board with it. Okay. We will never forget. But anyway, sticking with Trump, so basically the Supreme Court has given him increasing carte blanche to do what he wants. There he is, pointing at the Supreme Court and going, yippity doo-dah. There he is. He's like, oh, I've just sharted all over the flag. Furious Trump also walks away from Canada trade talks. So he had a little bit of a kind of, a bit of a fit. Let me just find the story. Trump, Canada. Yeah, this is it. He walks away. US president abruptly ends all trade discussions with Canada. He's walked away from them as he describes that Canada wants to impose a digital services tax on some of the tech companies that are supplying their stuff to America, stuff to Canada. And Trump has described this as a blatant attack on our country. In a post on Truth Social, he said that his administration has been informed that Canada was planning to proceed with a 3% tax on tech companies such as Meta, Uber, Amazon, Google. Speaking in the Oval Office, Mr. Trump has said Canada had been very difficult to deal with. It's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it. We're going to stop all negotiations. So it looks like now he's, in inverted commas, resolved Iran-Israel. Now he believes a ceasefire is coming in a week. As I say, take that word with a pinch of salt. He's now refocusing himself back on fighting Canada, probably invading Greenland, and arresting everyone that vaguely has a name that doesn't sound like, I don't know, American. Do you get me? So Trump, Supreme Court ruling expands Trump's powers as he intends to use it. So nearly all of the news outlets are covering this. This is the story, right? Israeli soldiers ordered to fire on Palestinians queuing for aid, say whistleblowers. This is a massive story. This is a story that's emerged from Haaretz. It's an investigation into suspected war crimes following first-hand testimony by IDF soldiers. So this is based upon first-hand testimony given by IDF Israeli soldiers to the Israeli publication Haaretz. Now, Haaretz is, you could argue, Israel's equivalent to The Guardian. It's a publication that challenges the state, doesn't just parrot governmental propaganda, etc. But first-hand accounts, I've got a couple of quotes here, actually. It's a killing field, said one soldier, where I was stationed between 1 and 5 people were killed every day. They're treated like a hostile force. No crowd control measures, no tear gas, just live fire with everything imaginable. Heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, mortars. Then once the center opens, the shooting stops and they know they can approach. Our form of communication is gunfire. We open fire early in the morning if someone tries to get in line from a few hundred meters away, and sometimes we just charge at them from close range. But there's no danger to the forces. I'm not aware of a single instance of return fire. There's no enemy, no weapons. This is first-hand IDF whistleblowing witness testimony to an Israeli publication. This isn't some propagandized kind of outside of Israel publication seeking to kind of, you know, do anything terrorist style, you know. It's alleged that some soldiers took orders from a brigadier general who'd previously stated that there were no innocents in Gaza. And this is this footage again here, which I'm going to show you once more. So in these setups, people are being killed. So they're being likened. I don't know if you remember the film years ago. Was it set in Cambodia? I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. But it's called The Killing Fields. They're being described as killing fields. This as someone just said, we've suspected this, we've heard testimony of this, we've shown footage of gunfire happening, and yet we've all fallen foul or been subjected to the Israeli government's appalling propaganda machine that's tried to claim that it's Hamas operatives or that it's even, you know, agitators in the crowd. The one thing that the Israeli government will never do is admit or acknowledge that they've done wrong. Now, on that note, the IDF, the Guardian's reporting that the IDF has opened an inquiry into these possible war crimes. Let me just pull this up. So it's very slow, the computer today. IDF opens inquiry. Now, the reason this is always a cause for concern when the IDF opens an inquiry, okay, let's pretend we're in media class. What does one think when the IDF says they're opening an inquiry into possible war crimes after deaths near Gaza aid sites? What would be a cause for concern in that statement? Because people like Trump, people like Starmer, people like Lamy, Netanyahu would say, this shows we're dealing with it. But I think history has proven that whenever Israel says they're opening an inquiry, it goes deathly quiet and nothing happens. And yet it's enough to placate the mainstream media in the West to make it look like Israel and the IDF are taking their duties responsibly. How about not having killed hundreds of aid seekers? Rather than always doing it like killing the 15 paramedics, doing it and then going, we'll analyze it. Why not have what clearly this speaks to is a policy, an attitude, and a culture in the Israeli army and the Israeli government. And I hate to say it, when you look at the polls in Israel, huge numbers of the Israeli population, that Palestinians and Gazans aren't human and deserve to be destroyed. Yes. So, I mean, you know, when I read this, IDF opens inquiry into possible, this is no inquiry I'm looking forward to. It's like telling someone to mark their own homework. It's not going to be an inquiry worth anything. And yet, Starmer, Lamy, Trump, Rubio are all going to then say, but look, an inquiry was done. And there may be one brigadier that's kind of held accountable. And then it's all dealt with. The bow is tightened over the top. And yet there are hundreds and hundreds of innocents who've been killed. It's appalling. It's an appalling arithmetic, moral arithmetic or amoral arithmetic that we've fallen into in this conflict. The statistics we accept, the torturous behavior, the savagery, the violence, the death that we now tolerate and accept, and the wrap around these actions that headlines and statements and press releases seek to normalize. It's unforgivable. And actually, it's no wonder, you know, Nadia's in tears this morning. People are, if you have an open heart of any form, this should be impossible to tolerate and is impossible to process. Here are some other images of those people seeking aid who they fire randomly into in a form of the killing fields. This is a woman who tragically lost one of her sons at one of the aid centers. Here are some of the quotes. Aid site is a killing field. That's a quote from an IDF whistleblower. There's no danger to Israeli forces. I mean, the only thing you could stretch towards is that, by all accounts, for some, not all, but for some of the IDF soldiers that come out off the battlefield, apparently the post-traumatic stress of what they've done and what they've seen and what they've presumably also been ordered to do is just awful. It's just awful. So, so inquiries, bullshit. Ceasefire, look at the terms. America, a ceasefire that's agreeable to Israel and America is not necessarily going to be one that's agreeable to Palestinian people in either the West Bank or Gaza. Changing the Hamas leadership, getting in a multi-Arab, pan-Arab structure to kind of orchestrate and control and look after and manage the rehabilitation of the area. That's about the closest solution I can see regarding the de-Hamasification, if you like, of Gaza. But what's going to happen here is, in the de-Hamasification, as they call it, of Gaza, they're going to potentially force out 1 million people. And I really, really fear that in that 12 days of the Iran-Israel war, the slow erosion again of need and morale. You don't need to just kill numerous people, which they have done. Let's not beat around the bush. We're looking, Harvard was reporting perhaps as many as 377,000. But once you compromise the souls, the morale, which, let's face it, the morale there is on the floor. And if where you go to get your aid, you don't know if it's a lottery as to whether you get shot. This is hell on earth. And we have Starmer and Lammy wringing their hands saying they're concerned still. It's diabolical. It's diabolical. Okay, moving on from the heavies. The king is making plans for his funeral, and it's kind of a bit sort of bleak, isn't it? But apparently this is standard for kings and monarchs to do this. But in his plans, there is a place for Prince Harry and Meghan. They're at the heart of the king's funeral plans. There they are behind him. I think maybe at the Queen's funeral. But yeah, this is the story that essentially, by all accounts, the king may want some kind of reunion, but I don't know whether there's a lot to be read into this that's positive. Maybe he's wanting it seems that the reconciliation that he's seeking is only going to happen once he's dead. So plans are afoot by Buckingham Palace. It's called, I think they're always called Operation London Bridge, the funerals of any monarch. I think the Queen's was, I think the King's was. And basically they have to make specific plans on who will walk beside the procession, the coffin, and et cetera, and he's making sure that there are roles. He's factored in not only the Duke but the Duchess of Sussex and their children, and they're going to be at the heart of his funeral plans. And apparently it's very normal for them to plan for such set ceremonial events, which can sometimes the arrangements can happen decades before. But who thinks I mean, of course, there's going to be speculation around this, that maybe the king is not as well as we all think. But who knows? Just a little reminder of Prince Harry in his recent TV appearance.
With my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff.
Homecoming says it quite bluntly. The royal family are redundant. For example, how are they helping humanity right now? Yeah, I mean, they're not sort of, Stacey Randall was just gifted 10 memberships. Wow, Stacey, so kind. Thank you. You will get to see and watch our live No Name Sunday show on a Monday night, which is on Monday. Farida R, very kind of you, Stacey. Thank you. And I hope you're well, sweetheart. Farida R, I met a guy that had composed the organ music for the Queen's funeral. He had written the music many years before she died. Yeah, Stacey is a superstar. I think at the end of the day, says Cherry D, Charles is soft-hearted. He seems a sensitive type, especially now in his advanced age. Yeah, I agree. In other news, in about an hour and 20 minutes, I didn't realize they were so early in the sort of schedule. Kneecap will be performing. How does this leave you all feeling? Let's get a sense of the mood in the room for Kneecap to perform in what could be one of Glastonbury's most controversial sets. And as I understand it, the BBC will not be covering this. This is an image of Liam, when he left Westminster Magistrates last week. He's in court for inciting or promoting Hezbollah, saying up Hezbollah, up Hamas, and saying and having a Hezbollah flag. By the way, that was me quoting him, and having a Hezbollah flag on stage. He could, I think, for the promotion of a terrorist organization, I think you can get up to 6 months. I think for actively being involved in it, you can get 14 years. I mean, my take on all of this is the point of the arts. I see Kneecap as part of that sort of great tradition of punk, political, counterculture, agit-pop, agit-prop type thing. It's about music is rage at the machine. I think there's a band called that, isn't it? That's what music's about. It's about challenging. It's about shouting. It's about pushing back. It's about rebellion within the art form of music. They haven't gone out and attacked anyone. What do you think? Good. Very happy, Shakir Al-Bad. Very happy they're performing. It's a win for freedom of speech. Whatever gets the clicks, says Good Chip Lollipop. Go on, Kneecap. Bernie B, they represent a lot of people. I think they should, says Cherry D. Let the people show up for them or not. The public has a right either way to make a choice of entertainment. Gabrielle, you're right. The BBC won't show it, but people will share their clips on social media. Very true. Very true. Good point. And Lamia Safa, that's more than if you attack someone. It's quite what the potential sentences for promotion or advocacy for a terrorist organization. I know it's odd, isn't it? Here's an image also of a festival goer wearing a tricolor black balaclava similar to the one worn by the rapper DJ Provi. I don't know if I pronounced that correct, but it's a Gaelic for Provo. If anyone hasn't seen the film, the origin story for Kneecap is sensational and it's fascinating. And I was saying to Nads, actually, inadvertently, they've probably got enough material now from where the first film finishes to where they are now to make a second film about just as much about imperialism, colonialism, apartheid, oppression, etc., etc. I mean, there's as rich a second. I mean, I'm not saying that's why, but I'm just saying quite literally since the end of that film and everything that's happened to Kneecap since, there is a really compelling argument to make another film. But in other Glastonbury news, who remembers Rod Stewart saying he's no longer friends with Donald Trump because of supporting Israel and he can't bear what's happening in Gaza? And we're all like, yeah, Rod, get your tight trousers on. Give us some Rocky. Does anyone remember Kenny Everett? Do you remember the sort of comedian? He used to do impersonations of people. I remember him doing Rod Stewart and his bum got bigger and bigger and bigger. It's so funny. He's like floating off into the ceiling. Well, Rod Stewart, yeah, we're all like, yeah. And then suddenly he says this. Rod Stewart tells people to give Farage a chance. The head of Glastonbury Legends performance. That surely is going to go down like a bucket of sick at Glastonbury, isn't it? What you got? Kneecap. You've got for a minute. You've got You've got Kenny Everett. You've got what's his name? Rod Stewart. Kind of giving it all, going, yeah, this is awful. And everyone's like, yeah, free Palestine, yeah, free Palestine. And then he goes, vote for Farage. All in the best possible taste. Do you remember? I don't know. It just shows you politics have got a bit kind of confused these days. Because if you're saying give Farage a chance, Farage is fully up the backside of Israel going, yeah, keep on going, matey flips. It's weird, isn't it? There's Rod Stewart, in case no one knows who he is. Looking the part. I don't know if this is going to... It'd be interesting to see how he's received since he's given this Farage sort of support. Be interesting whether the politics of the Glastonbury crowd will be such that they go running off in a different direction. And just in case you don't know who Farage is, this is the man. Does anyone else find, whenever I see photos like this of Farage, does anyone remember the scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when they opened the Lost Ark of the Covenant and all that weird kind of industrial light and magic effects fly around all the kind of Nazi soldiers? And there's one soldier who screams so hard and his face melts. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, we're all here to talk about, we all want to have a look at the photos, don't we, from Jeff Bezos' wedding, don't we? We do, don't we? Yeah, Jeff Bezos marries blushing bride Lauren Sanchez in lavish £48 million Venice wedding. Whew, read the room, Jeff. Read the room. This is the front of Vogue. Lauren Sanchez Bezos. You may have seen earlier in the week, they had a phone party. Grow up. You lose all sorts of things at phone parties. I have filmed at one. You can lose things like keys. You can lose things like phones. You can lose tripod. You can lose lots of things. And you lose them in the most unusual of places too. Just saying. These are some of the official images from Vogue's Instagram. The Kardashians were there. Look at them looking lovely. Oh, there she is, just hiding in a bush. This was taken just minutes before she donned her dress. She was like, let me just peek through the bushes in a pervy fashion. Here she is. My God, that looks tight, doesn't it? I mean, I presume that's beautiful. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. You know, likes to sit on sinks. Fabulous tile. There's a phrase, I forget, there's an Arabic phrase for farting on the tiles of a kitchen. And I forget the word, but it's a great word or phrase. And my father-in-law says it a lot, but I think she might be doing one there. Look at that. Look at the spray. Is that right? The spray? No, that makes it sound like a cat. Look at the spread. No, that's even worse. On that dress. What do you call it? Look at the... There's got to be a name for when a dress... The fan. Look at the fan. Look at the fan of that. She does look nice. She looks lovely. There she is. Lost. Very sort of... what's the name of the woman who throws her hair out the window? It's not Matilda. What's her name? What's that? Tangled. What's the name of the woman who throws her hair out the window? Not Rumpelstiltskin. That's a little bloke, isn't it? Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, I like that photo. It's very nice. Come on, someone, quick. There's Jeff, bodyguarded up to the hilt. Lack of Bezos. Well, they're getting Rapunzel. Thank you, Lin J. Rapunzel. The reason they're not together, this is them coming together. You don't see the bride. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. There she is. It's a beautiful dress. Two women at the back going, when are we off? I like that sort of photo. A candid photo. That's rather beautiful. There's Jeff waving. These are the rings that are worth an absolute fortune. I just don't understand. I'm on my own. Thank God. I find diamonds ugly. They're just kind of big, bulky, awful things. There's, I think that's Kim Kardashian giving us the two fingers. There she is again on the Venice boat. It's very hard to kind of keep looking great with the wind blowing and the sea bobbing. Who's that? What is he hiding? What is that about? We all know it's you, Leo. It's weird, isn't it? Don't you think it's strange? I mean, he pulls his cap so far down. Have I got a cap? Where's my cap? I've got a cap somewhere. I mean, what's the, it doesn't... It's ridiculous. Candid, £1 million candid shots. You're absolutely right. I think that's her again. This is her going down the shops to get some grocery Italian look, which is quite nice. Popping down the shops to buy some fruit. There she is in something very different. Looks like my nan's armchair turned into a dress. There's Jeff Bezos there. There they are together. Look, just waving to Venice. They all look the same same plastic surgeon and age. Very good point. Yeah, there is a great. I think this is Kylie Jenner? I think so. They all morph into one. There's the mum. There's the mummager, mum of all the Kardashians. She looks like someone else there. I don't know who. Oh look, Bill Gates. Lots and lots of trillionaires. Sydney Sweeney, apparently she was, by all accounts, I don't know who says this. She was the most sought after guest, as in people wanted to go and meet her. Maybe they wanted to buy some of her bath water. There's more footage of thingy there. Look, Orlando Bloom saying, "Why doesn't this suit fit me?" He's just split up with old what's her face. What's her name? Thingy went up to space. That's a nice shot. I have to say, I like that photo. It's a great photo, isn't it? Especially the great big bald head right in the middle there. Fabulous. Slaphead. That's the Queen of Jordan. And there you have it. There you have it. Bill Gates, I know. What's her face? There's so many what's her faces. You know what? After that, I felt so sort of overwhelmed with celebrity and Venice that I then pulled a story about the amount of water that data servers are using. I thought, what's happened to me? Okay, when you write, do you use a full stop? This is the story of how using a full stop could give away your age. Apparently, the way in which we use punctuation tells us a lot, or the way in which we don't use punctuation. Using a full stop in text could be giving away your age. Noel Wolfe, a linguistic expert, said young people aged between 13 to 28, you're young, if you're, anyone here between 13 and 28, you're young if you are, we're rewriting the rules to shift the meaning of inverted commas, quotation marks, ellipses, full stops, and the dash. I'm a fan of the ellipses, the dot, dot. Oh, I'm a fan of the dot, dot, dot. I like that. Traditional usage of various punctuation marks has now been upended. Full stops are used to convey passive-aggressive bluntness. I kind of know what they mean. I rarely put, yes, to make the effort to put a full stop, you're like, however you type it. Yeah, I get you. Ellipses are used to suggest awkwardness or hesitation. I don't. I use ellipses to say, have some thinking time. Commas and dashes signal emphasis and mimics spoken language rather than a pause in the sentence. The enunciation and grammatical prose of the youth is most tiring. Good God, Edward, you sounded Shakespearean. The enunciation and grammatical prose of the youth is most tiring, especially when yonder light doth shone so bright. The young write like James Joyce. Stream of consciousness, Gerard Gardner film. You're riffing on Ulysses there, aren't you? It's only natural for contemporary writers to embrace this. It comes after it was revealed the semicolon is dying out. Who? Come on, admit it. Any covert semicolon users here? I like the old semicolon. Extends a thought, develops a thought. Is that right? Its use has more than halved. How do you judge this in 2 decades? Young people who do not know how to use semicolons were shown as being behind the decline. Wow. Social media is without question the main driver. Grammar isn't being destroyed. It's being stretched, apparently. I love a semicolon, Goldie. Thank you. I'm pleased you're part of the same crowd. Just getting rid of all of my little bits here so I know what the fuck I'm doing. Excuse me. Just get rid of that. I've done that. You've seen him. You've seen that. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Hi, folks. Hi, Genie Bottle. How using a full stop? Yes, we've done that. Ketamine. This story is just really a salutary tale. There's a big piece. It's a kind of features piece in the Daily Mail. Ketamine stole our children. And it's just a really moving. I'm not for a minute advocating you read the Daily Mail. Of course I'm not. But this is a piece where it just speaks to these women, these mums, talking about how variously some of their children, grown children, have died, how they became profoundly incontinent, wearing nappies, curled up in bed with constant stomach cramps. I think it's really important that if you have any sense of ketamine use is kind of rife because it's so cheap. But the long-term consequences of ketamine abuse are really awful. I mean, really awful. And I just thought this was a really moving, actually, story regarding, as I say, 7 case studies or 7 young people with, and it's that terrible thing of saying they all have something, everyone has something to fucking live for, don't they? But all of their lives have been absolutely wrecked. One of their children passed away in a tent at the Boomtown Fair Music Festival. Other children found themselves on their own. The last year of one of these girls' lives was she spent in being incontinent. And this is what the mothers have said: incontinent, in constant pain, wearing nappies, becoming more and more isolated, until one of the mothers found them motionless on their side at home. Just awful, just awful. So when people sort of talk about, you know, K as this kind of it's like all these things. It destroys lives, and so many youngsters are so breezy with it. And then finally, moving on to a couple of lighter sort of stories. Flying Ant Day 2025 could be one of the biggest in years as perfect conditions hit. It's horrible, Flying Ant Day. And actually didn't believe there was a Flying Ant Day, but there's always a Flying Ant Day. It doesn't happen at the same time everywhere in the country, but everywhere has a Flying Ant Day. There must be eggs everywhere, and they all come out. But apparently they're saying this year is going to be the biggest and bestest yet. And it's weird, isn't it? One of our kids was coming home on a bus one day when it happened, and they felt like they were being like just attacked. Yeah, drugs destroy lives, Lynn J. That's right. They don't know when, but they know it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to be big. There they are. They're kind of big and floppy, though, aren't they? I feel like every year they come out, they're testing the technology to fly, and then they fail because they die within seconds. They can't get anywhere. And I thought, it's Glastonbury. So let's have a look at some lovely images from the first day of Glastonbury. Look at this. Brilliant, isn't it? This is, I forget what that's called, but it's called something. Oh no, I thought I'd done all of these. But look, these are some of the images from stage. Some of the artists. Very, unfortunately, I thought I'd edited the images here. Don't know who they are. That's Busta Rhymes. Yeah. It's the 1975. There's Matty Healy. Apparently their set was really, really cool. And I love this. Look, performers from the Ministry of Happy diagnosing people and making them happier. What do they diagnose them as? Do you find someone and go, you're happy? I'm going to make you even happier. Okay, so just quickly, we've got a couple of minutes. We're going to do the quiz. How are you setting there, girls? 11:30. Fabulosity. They're going to be another half hour, so it's going to be later. So let's do the quiz. For those of you who missed the quiz on Friday, here's the quiz. Kneecap at Glastonbury at 4 p.m. I thought it was 12. Someone said 12. Kneecap at 4 p.m. Spread it everywhere as it's not being broadcast. Share videos. It's on. They're on at 4, not at noon apparently. Okay, so quickly let's do the quiz of the week. Question 1. Leaders of the 32 members of NATO gathered in the Netherlands to discuss threats to the West. But which person at the summit referred to the US President Donald Trump as the daddy? Oh, was it A, Marco Rubio, B, Mark Rutte, or C, Zelensky? I was reminded it was this time last year that President Biden came on and introduced Zelensky as Putin. Do you remember that? Good God, how things have got not at all better in a different way. Who called, was it A, B, or C? Who called Donald Trump the daddy? Was it A, Rubio, B, Rutte, or C, Zelensky? Come on, baby, light my fire. I'm your daddy and your pie. Yeah, but oh yeah, come on. Woo-hoo. Yes, of course, the answer is Mark Rutte. Everyone's now trying to make out it was being ironic. No, he wasn't. He was being an absolute suppurating brown noser. That's what he was being. Next, question 2. Fans of K-pop powerhouse BTS celebrated as the last of its 7 members completed their mandatory military service. Which member of the boy band was last to be discharged? Was it A, Jungkook, B, RM, or C, Suga? There's so many letters in that question. I don't know what any of them refer to. K-pop, BTS, Jungkook, RM. So which member of the boy band BTS was last to be discharged? Was it A, Jungkook, B, RM, or C, Suga? Lots of you saying Jungkook. No, it's C, Suga. Next. Question 3. A powerful new space telescope released its first images with scientists hoping to get a better look at our solar system and galaxies far beyond. For what? To send us photos of just fluffy things. In which country is this new powerful telescope based? A, Argentina, B, Chile, or C, the USA? Annie H is going for D. She's being an agitator. You're a little rebel, Annie H, aren't you? I've seen you around before. I know what you're up to, matey flip. In which country is this powerful new telescope? It can see so far. It can see up God's nostrils. A, Argentina, B, Chile, or C, USA? I'm a Galaxy fan too, Dawny. Yeah, much prefer Galaxy to anything else. The answer is B, Chile. Question 4. Kirsty Coventry, the new president of the International Olympic Committee, said the organization had to protect the female category in sport as she began her term. In which sport did the former Zimbabwean athlete win 2 Olympic gold medals? Was it A, diving, B, equestrianism, or C, swimming? Fuck knows. You're in the Wild West guessing this one. Kirsty Coventry, new head of the International Olympic Committee. What sport did she win 2 Olympic gold medals for? Was it A, diving, B, equestrianism, or C, swimming? I got it right, but it was a pure guess, and Lynn Jay's got it right too. It's swimming. Question 5. The world's oldest boomerang dates back 40,000 years, scientists revealed, casting new light on the ingenuity of humans living at the time. Where was the tool discovered? Was it A, Australia, B, Poland, or C, Zimbabwe? In which country was the oldest boomerang found? A, Australia, B, Poland, or C, Zimbabwe? Laura Bishop, don't know. Have a guess. You've only got 3 to choose from. Have a guess. Cloda says C, Zimbabwe. As in the filter boomerang. Yes, 40,000 years ago, there's a Neanderthal man going, trying to light a fire. The answer is Poland. Poland. Which makes you wonder whether they got it wrong. Final question. No, it's not. Question 6. Sorry. A Scottish island which features a ruined castle, a working farm, and a holiday accommodation business was put up for sale after 80 years in the same family. What's the island called? The Isle of Corryvreckan, the Isle of Gully, or the Isle of Shuna? What's the island called? A, Corryvreckan, B, Gully, or C, Shuna? Lamia suffer. I'll tell you what, Lamia, next time, keep guessing the same letter for every answer, and you probably will get one or two right, I think, if you're not very good at it. The answer is C, the Isle of Shuna. Clodagh is right, Christine Bett is right, and Drake Cock is right too. Final question. The Edge, guitarist with Ireland's biggest rock band U2, finally became an Irish citizen more than 60 years after moving there. Where was he born? A, Barking, B, Belfast, or C, Glasgow? Wow. I mean, I say wow, it's not that big, not that interesting, but it's kind of, is it interesting? I don't even know. Anyway, The Edge, guitarist with Ireland's biggest rock band U2, finally became an Irish citizen more than 60 years after moving there. But where was he born? Was it A, Barking, B, Belfast, or C, Glasgow? I just want to know. The answer is Edward Bevington, Edge is okay. Nora Doyle is right. It's Barking. Barking. It's always so funny barking, isn't it? Is it? Okay, guys, there you go. That's our Saturday moaning. Thank you for tolerating the serious and the profoundly depressing and also the frivolous and the silly. 11:30 now. I will be changing the time on the live link. 11:30. It will be the curly cooks of Croydon, and they will be joining you, and you'll be joining them, and we'll be cooking some tasty Persian food. All right, guys, lots of love. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for sharing all your thoughts. Thanks for being here. See you later.